What's up, lifelong learners? It's your boy Mr. Heng, and I'm back with another tutorial video. So today we're going to be learning about how to use the GoPro 8 or the GoPro 9 and create something like this. Now before we get there, you're going to have to sit through my intro first. Since 2006, I've been teaching high school kids how to transform their lives through education. So consider subscribing and join the mission to make the hood all good. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed the intro. So what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna take you through the settings first, and then I'm gonna talk about the equipment, and then I'm gonna talk about my whole setup, and I'm gonna show you my whole setup, and then I'll give you some tips at the end. Okay, so in front of me here, I have the GoPro 8 and the GoPro 9. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through the settings of the GoPro 8 first. So for the settings of the GoPro 8, you're going to need to swipe to get to time lapse. And then you have to touch the bottom middle right here. You'll have time warp, time lapse, and night lapse. That's what you're trying to do. Is a night lapse. So what you want to do here is you want to touch on night lapse. You want to go into the settings, and then what I have for my settings are 4K, wide, interval of 30, and the format is very important that you understand the format. Okay, when you touch format, you're going to have an option to do photos version of this, or you want just, hey, give me a video so I can just start editing right away. This is more of a novice tutorial. For those of you who are already experienced, you know why you need photos, so you can have more options in post. So I'm going to select video format, and then the shutter, leave that as auto, the zoom as 1, and the EV, leave that at 0. You don't need exposure compensation. For white balance, go leave it at auto. Minimum ISO 100, maximum ISO, go ahead and give it 800. Sharpness low, and colors flat. I don't really like my images too sharp. I actually like it kind of dull, kind of boring. And I choose flat because I actually like the flat color. I think the GoPro color is just too much. It's a personal choice here. And then for the ISO, you want to give it as much range as possible, just in case if your shutter speed right here, because you leave it on auto, if the shutter speed is too long, then the stars get a little bit traily. Now for those of you who are advanced, you know exactly why you need white balance, certain white balance colors and your ISO. Now for those of you who are novice, this is what I recommend. Now let's take it to the GoPro 9. And here are the GoPro 9 settings. What you're gonna have here is you have schedule capture, which is new. Everything else is pretty much the same. Schedule capture, when you touch it, you are allowed to schedule at what time you want to start the GoPro. So let's say if you want to start in the middle of the night, you know, you can set your timer and it'll go off and it'll start recording. And the other setting that is different here is the duration setting. With the duration setting is you are able to set how long you want the time lapse to be. For example, you can do different times here. If it moves there, you can do a 15-minute time lapse. You can do a 1 minute 30 seconds. You can do 1 hour, you can do 2 hours, 3 hours. For me, I just leave it as no limit. Everything else here is pretty much the same as the GoPro 8. And the most important setting of all is to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. I'm just joking. But now I'm gonna take you through all of the equipment that I brought. You don't need all of it, but I'm gonna give you the most essential stuff and a little bit of extra. So the most important things you'll need are something like this: a tripod, obviously your GoPro, a ball head, and some kind of extra battery juice. Like this is extra battery that I used when I went camping this weekend, but it only lasts literally for only about an hour and 40 minutes to be safe. Okay, so if you're trying to do a time lapse that's longer than an hour 40 minutes, you're gonna need something like this, which is a 6,800 milliamp hours, or you're gonna need something like this that's gonna be 10,000 milliamp hours. This one right here, I shot something that was literally all night long, and then I woke up the next day and it was still shooting. This is a good battery pack to have. Obviously, you're also gonna need a wire to plug into your GoPro so that you can supply power all night long to your GoPro. Now you notice here that I have a bunch of extra stuff. Well, this is a new snap mount that I just bought. So this one right here, if you are camping outside and you feel safe and you want to slap it on your car using the snap mount like this, and then you can slap this on the top of your car and angle it up like that or so at the night sky, you can do that with this. So again, links in the description down below. So with the snap mount system, I can do this. I can slap this on. I can put the ball head on like so, and then put this onto the tripod. Once I have everything on this tripod right here, the only thing that I need now is the extra battery, or I can use this grip and mount this grip and make this a little bit taller. And this is a grip with battery in it. But I like to use a bag with the battery, slap it on there like that. This will hold the battery up, and I would take my wire right here, plug it into the battery, use the ball head, and adjust for the angle you want. Put maybe a sandbag on your tripod in case it's a windy day, and boom, you have yourself a setup right here that will shoot a time lapse all night long. Okay, now this is the most important equipment to bring if you're planning to go camping and record the night sky and catch some moving stars, is to bring a fly swatter. Because you can use that fly swatter to whack that like button because you learned something new. I'm just joking. Actually, you can just use those, like swat flies and stuff like that, because there's a lot of bugs out there that was just always flying in front of my face when I went to camp this past weekend. So now that we've gone through the settings and the setup, I want to give you some real tips, not to, smack the like button, okay? If you do, great. If not, it's all good. I hope you learned something new, okay? Tip number 1, the night lapse mode and the time lapse mode are not the same thing. You will be able to get different results because in night lapse, what you can tap into are longer shutter speeds. And for those of you who are more advanced, longer shutter speeds means that you can mess around with your ISO to get it lower and you get less noise and stuff like that. Now, for those of you who are new, that might not mean anything to you, but once you get more advanced, it'll mean a lot when you're trying to get a cleaner image. What I'm giving you today is just something really basic to start off with. Tip number 2, experiment at home, because what you want to do here is you want to shoot, even if you have a lot of light pollution at where you live, you want to just mess around with these settings and test it overnight, because it'll be relatively safe at where you live, hopefully, like in your backyard or something like that, or shoot through your window, so that way no one's going to steal your GoPro. So that way you get comfortable with these settings, and then when you go out into the field, you already have the settings you want and you're just ready to go. Tip number 3, all right. When you're at the location site, what you want to do is you want to take some test photos, all right? And I actually did some test photos here. Let me show you. Okay, so this is what I mean by taking a test photo. Because when you take a test photo or a test time lapse, what you'll be able to do is see exactly what it looks like for your framing. If your framing is off, then it might not look the way you want it to. So take some test shots first. And after I took some test shots here, what I did was I created another time lapse, and this was created with a GoPro 6. So the GoPro 6 didn't have night mode at the time, or night lapse at the time. And so what I have to do is take a bunch of photos and then take it into Premiere Pro or some kind of editing software and then create a time lapse out of it. Now the GoPro desktop app will create a time lapse for you. So I'll double click into this. You can see here, I literally started in the middle of the night. You can see the stars moving and stuff like that. And then you can see the moon popping up right here, and it is going, the moon is going, and you see all these clouds. It's all just glorious. And then the sun pops up, right? So you can see the sun, and let me just bring out the sun here. Mr. Sunshine. Oh, there's the sun right there. And here you can see the sun just coming up, and this is shot all night long with my battery. So now you see why it's so important to take test shots, look at it for your framing, and then just let it go all night long on unlimited shot mode. And again, this was shot with the GoPro 6, so I had to take photos. There is no such thing as night mode, night lapse. It was just like, you need to know how to set your settings and then just let it go on auto shutter. And tip number 4, is to watch my tutorial for how to take photos of a star. I'll leave it in the description down below, so that way you don't have to go searching for it and all that stuff. I got you. I'm trying to be helpful here. All right, and that is it. You made it to the end of the video. All right, so don't forget to like this video if you learned something new, and make sure you comment a thank you in the comments down below just to help me stay motivated. And then share this video with somebody because you found this useful and you think that it can help somebody else who has a GoPro 8 or GoPro 9. And the last thing is subscribe if you like hanging out with me and learning something new. All right, with that being said, we're gonna say goodbye. So what you're gonna do here is get your hands ready. For those of you, this is a tutorial for those of you who are new to my channel. And for those of you who are returning, y'all know what to do. For those of you who are new, follow along. Rock, paper, peace. Okay, now rewind that and do it with me. Rock, paper, peace, like that. Okay, let's hang out again in the next video.